Hello everyone, Storm 101 here. Today we'll be taking a look into some severe weather. Mainly going to be looking into the Mid-Atlantic states. Something interesting will be coming up tomorrow across the Mid-Atlantic states. But let's go ahead and get started with the SPC Outlook here. We got a couple margin of risk. Got one across North Dakota. Got one across South Central Texas. But the one area we're going to be focused on for today and tomorrow will be the Mid-Atlantic states, which I'll tell why in a moment. But we got a margin of risk, got a large area anywhere from around Shreveport, kind of moving northeast through Memphis, Jackson, Tennessee, into Nashville, Bowling Green, Lexington, Charleston, West Virginia, Roanoke, then turning more north into New York State and Pennsylvania there. We do have a slight risk for severe weather, which includes places like Baltimore, Washington, D.C., Arlington, Alexandria, and also as well as Columbia, Maryland. So those will be the regions that we'll be kind of watch for as well for chances of severe weather. The tornado threat probability is elevated. We got a 5% chance. We do have two other areas of potential for split up tornadoes. One area is across far northeastern Arkansas and far western Tennessee. Got another one across south central Texas. Damaging winds is also going to be a primary threat, but the hail threat should be sticking around in south central Texas there. Which let's go and take a look at two models on for later today. So this is the high risk NAM. And as you can see here, see a few thunderstorms could become severe, mainly across northeastern Virginia, Maryland, southeastern Pennsylvania, and even including portions of Delaware as well. At least it'll be moving into those regions. And we're going to watch flash flooding threat across Kentucky and southern Indiana. There's been some back and forth on models on that, so we definitely have to keep an eye on that as well for late tonight into tomorrow morning. So if we take a look into some other things like we'll take a look to Swift tornado parameters for tomorrow. And as you can see, it's nearby those thunderstorms. It is a little bit elevated, maybe a little bit overdone. You can see kind of along the uh, Pennsylvania and Maryland state line there. I mean, pretty much over a 1, you got a tornado threat, but a 5.7, I think that's a little too high for my taste, but we're going to find out here with our sounding if it's going to load in one, which we are. And I think at least this area here will probably be favorable for maybe a couple of tornadoes potentially. But you can see the holograph looks pretty good. You do have a decent amount of wind shear as well. Not much. You do have definitely a big change of winds at the low levels, so that's also going to help bring up the tornado threat. You also got your effective layer STP, also quite elevated as well. But I don't think we won't see an EF4, EF3, any of that stuff. I think we can at least see maybe EF0 to maybe EF2 tornado out there later this evening if the conditions are favorable. But I think the high-res NAM is a little bit overdone with that. We could take a look into the HER model for the rest of today. And as you can see here, you do have some thunderstorms that do develop across southeastern Pennsylvania and back through Maryland, all the way back down into Virginia there as well. And those will be moving to the east there as well. And then you got the rapid refresh model, and it shows kind of similar things. So I think the better chance for severe winter will be in this region right in here, northeast of Virginia, Maryland, and some Pennsylvania. We can also very quickly take a look at the significant tornado parameters by the rapid refresh model, which is not as high as the high-res NAM has it, but I think this is a little bit more realistic um, for later today. So I would say the probability for it would be damage winds, maybe a couple of sped up tornadoes out there today. You can see Hodograph. It's not as good as for the high risk NAM, but it is still favorable for at least maybe a couple spin up tornadoes. You still have a pretty decent amount of wind shear as well. So pretty decent environment there as well. So that is today, and again, primary threat, maybe a couple tornadoes, and probably some damaging winds. Let's move on to tomorrow here, which is going to be the biggest story here, if this is going to load in. If it doesn't here, we'll go back here and move forward. It looks like it's not working correctly. There we go. As you can see, we do have an enhanced risk for severe weather across pretty much the same areas: northeastern Virginia, portions of Maryland, into Delaware, and far southern New Jersey there, and even maybe even to far southeastern Pennsylvania as well. The hail threat is pretty low in there, but damage and winds is looking to be one of your primary threats. You can see there's a 30% there. But also the tornado threat's also quite elevated as well. We got a 10% chance for a tornado in a 25-mile radius of a given point, which includes places like Baltimore, Washington, D.C., Arlington, Alexandria, and also Columbia. So really the same areas that could see severe weather today looks like to be tomorrow, but with a little bit of a better risk there as well. You also do have a slight risk surrounding some of those areas, and then you got a marginal risk expanding all the way back into Kentucky, eastern Kentucky, there as well. So let's take a look into some models here. So let's go back to uh, the high-res NAM here. So there goes later today. There's going to be a low pressure system at this point here later tonight. It will be across portions of Indiana, Kentucky, and eventually into Ohio. Then later that afternoon, your low pressure system will be at Pennsylvania. So it'll be moving fairly quickly there. And then you can see here by the high-res NAM showing a pretty good cluster of thunderstorms beginning into northern Virginia, back into Maryland, and moving southeastward. And you can see a pretty decent line of storms there. So definitely a damaging wind threat showing up from the high-res NAM. Also continuing southeastward into portions of Delaware as well. And those should die out after midnight there. You also do have a cold front coming in behind that too, as well, which should bring us some really nice temperatures there very soon. So let's go and take a look to significant tornado parameters from the high-res NAM. And as you can see here, not as you can see still some decent values here, but is very isolated there. Got a 4.1 there. It actually shows nothing. That may not be correct. Let's see. Let's try that again. A 4.3. So we're going to let this load here for a moment, see what it is showing. If it does take a moment, we can go ahead and move on to another model, which it actually shows a PDS tornado icon there, very interestingly enough. But I don't think we won't see a PDS tornado out there, which PDS tornado means a particularly dangerous situation, or you could say it's a strong tornado potential. And this is not that accurate at all, just to keep in mind of that, so don't really pay attention to that. Although you can see the holograph is pretty good as well, at least a pretty favorable environment. You can see here, not too much of wind direction and height, but there is still some wind shear in the atmosphere. You also do have pretty decent cape in the area as well. And also at the surface, you could see some damaging winds. At the same time, you can also get some high thunderstorms there as well. So the NAMNS is showing a pretty decent threat for severe weather for some of those areas. So let's move back to the HER model, which I forgot to show the significant torque parameters for today. My bad. Um, so let's move on to later today. And as you can see here, again, over a 1, you got a tornado threat. And this is, now, this is not tomorrow, this is later today for the HER. You got a pretty decent hodograph there. And you got this amount of wind shear as well, and wind direction and height. So a little bit of favorable environment for some severe weather in there as well. So it pops up again right over here. So we'll take a look into that very quickly. Oh wow, that's a serious hodograph, but I don't think we won't see that though. I mean, that's pretty ridiculous hodograph right there. So yeah, on that, let's go ahead and move back to our future radar from the HER model. So let's go ahead and move on to tomorrow here. And as you can see here, seems like it doesn't quite go through 100% of the day tomorrow since we're a little bit far out, but you can tell here you do have some thunderstorms. Some of it could be supercell, so you can see you got potential supercell there, there. So the potential is there to see a few supercells, and when they cluster out, that's when you have a damaging wind threat, like this cluster here, for example, there. So that's why the tornado threat and the damaging wind threat are pretty elevated. Now, if it's going to be more of a cluster type of deal, like the NAM, high-res NAM is showing, uh, then the tornado threat will go down. But if we're seeing something like the HERT model, the tornado threat will still be probably still be a 10% of the damage of wind threat could still be there because you can have supercells at first and then they cluster up and you still have that 30% chance for damage of winds later down the road. So that's kind of the situation there right now. So let's go ahead and take a look to significant tornado parameters here. And again, over 1, you pretty much got a tornado threat, so let's go to continue on for here. Kind of move on to the next day here. And as you can see here, you do have some pretty elevated areas where we also have supercells nearby to some of these regions. You got 3.4 there. The holograph is not that impressive, probably at least favorable for maybe a spin up tornado, although you do have decent amount of wind shear, you got wind direction, height as well, plenty of instability there. Let's move a little further south. We got 3.3 here. You actually got a better hodograph. It's a pretty decent forecast sounding here. Uh, so your hodograph looks good. You have some wind direction of height, got some wind shear going on. So again, now keep in mind this is not guaranteed. With these forecast soundings, this is not like a guarantee tornado will happen in this area. This is telling you that the environment will be favorable for a tornado that could potentially happen in that area. So that's what all this here means here. Let's move into Southern Virginia. Kind of a similar situation here. You see wind shear is good. You got some wind direction and height. You got a pretty decent hodograph. You got some better instability there as well. So really, looking into tomorrow could be a pretty decent day for some severe weather. So I'll definitely will say weather aware. Then we'll check one last sounding here from the HER. Pretty decent hodograph, but it's not 100% great. They're just looking at that, but again here, I will be weather aware with this here tomorrow. And then the last model before we get done here, and this is going to be the rapid refresh model. So kind of moving into tomorrow, as you can see here, it actually shows a little bit of a different story. We actually got a squall line coming through, which this can really decrease the tornado threat, although you could see spin of tornadoes along the line, which is a possibility. But this also really increases the damage to wind threat as well. It's also a little bit further north, and it's also a little bit more widespread. But this is kind of the situation right now where some of the models are indicating we have supercells first and then it becomes squall line, or these storms are just a squall line and moves forward. Now, again, if it's going to be like the rapid refresh model and also the high res NAM models, it'll dramatically decrease the tornado threat. Probably, well, not dramatically, at least it'll decrease the tornado threat. But of what the HER model is showing there, if it if it stays at supercells, they're then becoming a cluster. Then with those supercells there is what's bringing up the tornado threat there as well, and then becoming a squall, which will also increase your damage and wind threat. So but either way, you still got to be staying weather aware into some of these regions here, like portions of really generally northeastern Virginia, most of Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey, even into maybe southeastern or eastern Pennsylvania as well. So those areas definitely need to watch for severe weather. Uh, for today and tomorrow. But anyways, guys, this is all for you guys today. Hopefully, you guys did enjoy this video. If you guys did like this video, hit that like button. If you really do like my channel, hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell notifications so you never miss an upload. If you guys have questions about this, you can put in the comment section down below. I encourage you guys questions. I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.